Good morning, students. Welcome all of you in this English core class. Today we'll continue the same chapter, Ivan's tries and O level. Okay, so we'll start from here. Stephen shouted. So that mishap already happened. It was the sole responsibility of Stephens to look after Evans when the exam got over. But Stephens did not take care properly, and what happened that we'll see here after that. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McClary's ears. For the, for the minister's hand felt feebly for the handkerchiefs from his pocket and held it to the bleeding head. The blood seeping slowly through the white linen. He gave a long, low moan. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson. Words appeared, penetrate the curtain of blood. So blood's oozing out, veiled McClary's ears. Okay, and he gave a low, long moan to speak, but his voice trailed away. He tried to say something, but his voice trailed away, getting lower and lower. Okay, but his voice trailed away, and by the Jackson had arrived and dispatched, ring the police and the ambulance. The handkerchief sticky means muggy. Yes, sticky means muggy. Squelchy means note down, to emit a sucking sound. Okay, when handkerchiefs becomes veiled with the blood, that it emits a sucking sound. Okay, squelchy. And what does that word mean? Oj means large piece of cloth it was. Okay, so check it once. McClary slowly raised himself, his voice twisted tightly with pain. Don't worry about the ambulance. Dina worry, that means don't worry about the ambulance. I'm right. Get the police. I know where he closed his eyes and another drip of blood splashed like a huge, splashed means fall back, red raindrop on the wooden floor. His hand fell along the table, found the German question paper and grasped it, hold it tightly in his blood-stained hand. Get the governor, I know, where Evans? So McClary here shouting that I know where Evans is. Okay. Next para. Almost immediately, sirens were sounding. What that sirens means? Sirens means a device that makes a loud, prolonged signal or working sound. This is siren, a device that makes a loud, prolonged signal. Who was coming? Let's check. That prison officer barked orders. Puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors, doors were banged and bolted, and phones were ringing everywhere. And within a minute, McClary with Jackson's and Stephens supporting him on either side, his face now streaked and caked with drying blood. Let's see after that. Was greeted in the prison yard by the governor. Perplexed and grim, he was very perplexed, confused and grim, very serious. We must get you to the hospital immediately. I just don't dash given. You have called the police? Yes, they are on their way, but I'm right. Look here. Awkwardly, he opened the German question paper and thrust it before the governor's face. It is there. Do you see what I mean? Have you noticed? The governor looked down and realized what McClary was trying to tell. So McClary opened the German question paper and tried to discuss something. Do you understand? Governor understood everything and he had realized what McClary was trying to tell him. A photocopied sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed. What does that word superimposed means? Important one. Superimposed. Note down, superimposed means to place on top of something, to place on top of something over the last originally blank page of the question paper. Okay, originally blank questions paper. Next one. Yes, see what they have done, governor. Yes, see. His voice trailed off again as the governor, dredging the layers of long elected learning, willed himself to translate the German text before him. What they have done, governor, his voice, governor's voice trailed up again. Okay, and governor dredging the layers. Dredging means what? Obscure, forgotten. He had forgotten the German language, but willed, agreed himself to translate the German text before him. It was long time he had taken German in sixth form, so it becomes obscure for him. What is there written? See soul and dem scorn that verbatim plant that genu folgandens visti Japan putist deminate for ND test examines. Not required. What you will require? This is the translation given. You must follow the plan already. Something, the vital point in time is there 3 minutes before the end of the examination. Something is there. Don't hit him too hard. Remember, he is a minister, and don't overdo the Scots accent when. So this is the translation. This is the German translation. Okay, this is given 3 minutes before the exam. That means 11:22 exactly. Yes, this is very vital clue. A first approaching sirens wailed to its crescendo. First approaching siren. Okay, that wailed to its crescendo. That siren sound coming to its crescendo. What does that crescendo means? The highest point of any sound. The great doors of the prison's yard were pushed back, and a white police car squealed to enter to a jerky halt beside them. Who was there? Who had entered that van, police van? Detective Superintendent Carter. He had entered. Detective Superintendent Carter swung himself out of the passenger seat and saluted the governor. What the hell's happening, sir? And turning to McClary, Christ, which hit him. But McClary cut across whatever explanations the governor might have given. Aylesfield way. This is the direction, officer. I know where he wants. He was breathing heavily and leaned for support against the side of the car where the imprint of his hand was left in tarnished crimson. So when he had put his fingers on the car, that was already tarnished with that crimson color of the blood. In bewilderment, he did not understand what that bewilderment, utterly confused what to do next. Carter looked to the governor for guidance and what? Take him with you if you think that he will be all right, and he is the only one, who seems to know what's happening. He is the only person who could give us information. Carter opened the back door, helped McClary inside, and within a few seconds the car lifted away in a spot of the gravel. What is the gravel? That sandy road, towards that sandy road. Okay. So McClary was taken away by Carter towards where? This part of the gravel. Aylesfield way, McClary had said, and there it was staring up at the governor from the last few lines of the German text. From Aylesfield way, drive to the Headington roundabout, where, yes, of course, the examinations board was in the Aylesfield way. Someone from the board must have been involved in the escape plan from the very beginning. Yes, they understood that someone else, some third party, was involved in this case, in that escaping plan. The question paper itself, the correction slips, these are the clues, definitely. Governor turned to the Jacksons and Stephens. I don't need to tell you what happened to. Do I, sir? His voice sounded and almost calm in his scathing contempt. What is the scathing means? Criticizing. Scathing means he was calm, but voice was What about criticizing someone? And with which one of you? He asked, which one of you? Two morons was. Morons means what? You know, fools. Morons means fools. Was it who took Evans for a nice little talk to the main gates and waved him bye bye? It was me, sir. Who? Stammered Stephen. So Stephen was stammering, he was fearful, and he said, it was me, sir, just like you told me, sir. I could have sworn. You told me, you instructed me, that's why I had done. What? Just like I told you? Governor said. You say, what the hell? When you rang, sir, and told me to. When was that? The governor voice was a whiplash now. It's becoming whiplashing. Okay, it's fear with that, that voice, and he couldn't understand what to say. You know, sir, about 20 past 11 just before. You blithering idiot. Okay, he said. It was not me that who rang you. Don't you realize? But what was that use? He had just used the telephone at that time, but only to try unsuccessfully. Yes, I used the telephone, but it was unsuccessful. Trying for me once more to get through to the examinations board. Nothing else. Governor clarified. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. As for you, who was the senior prison officer? Jackson. How long have you been pretending you have caught a brain? And well, I'll tell you something, Jackson. Your skull's empty, absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans' cell the previous evening, and it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing there, nothing at all. And Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a pair of spectacles, so Evans had somehow stealthily from the prison cells using that false beard. So see, underline false beard, pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and the rest of the clerical paraphernalia. Paraphernalia means miscellaneous articles. Okay, but also some sort of the weapon which he had given McClary such a terrible blow across the head. Oh. So he had that weapon. He had hindered that weapon. Secretly he had collected that weapon and he had given that terrible blow to McClary. A prison van backed alongside that time, but the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of the German, okay, and to the Headington roundabout where you go straight over and make your way to Negraben. This is the place. Negraben is the place. Negraben? Where on earth? Knew something new grave? Never heard of it, that there was a new war grave is there somewhere near Reading. But it was probably a code word, it was not the exact word. And then it hit him. Newbury, this is the place. Newbury is the place. God, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place. But he rapped out the orders of the drive to the driver, sent Aldate's police station, and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here, and when you get there, ask the Pell, Chief Inspector Pell. Got that? He left the stairs of the office there in the time, got Bell on the phone. So, Chief Inspector. Who is the person? Bell? Chief Inspector of Police. Immediately and put the facts before him. So, he called back on the phone. We'll get him, sir, said Bell. We'll get him with a bit of luck. We'll get Evans very soon. Don't worry, Governor. We'll get him. Who said? Bell said. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Yeah, gods. What a beautiful laid plan it had been all, and what a clever fellow Evans was. Careless leaving the question paper behind, but then they all made their mistakes somewhere along the line. Almost all of them, and what they were very shortly, Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. So they knew the fact. The phones of the desk erupted on a strident burst, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off long. McClary had spotted Evans driving along and had given a chase immediately, but had lost him at the Headington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. Doubled back means returned. Okay, so he must have doubled back. Who given the information? Who had given that information? So McClary had given the information that he had seen Evans, but he lost at that roundabout but he must be returned back into the city. No, said the governor quietly. Governor was not agreeing with his fact. He said reluctantly, no, he's on the way to the Newbury, I am sure. He explained his reason for believing so and left it that it was police job, it's not my job. What are the information I had given? He was just another good for a giggle, gullible governor. Good for a giggle. No, that good for nothing, good for a giggle. A gullible governor. Trapped already, deceived. Gullible means deceived. That was all. It was the sole duty and responsibility. Okay, to whom? Whose responsibility? Governor's duty, and governor's was a failure. Definitely governor was a failure. That's why it's given good for a giggle and a gullible. He was deceived at all. By the way, the Carter, I hope that you managed to get McClary to the hospital all right. Yes, he's in red clip now, really. Groggy he was. Groggy means weak. Okay, groggy means weak. He's in a red clip now. Who is red clip now? McClary. And he was when he got to know the examination office and they rang to the ambulance from here. Governor rang the red clip few minutes later and asked for the accident department. McClary, you say? Yes, he's a person. Okay. I don't think there is anyone. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulances picked him up from the Elsfield way about. Oh, that yes, you sent an ambulance all right, but when we got there, the fellow had gone. This was the information they had given. No one seemed to know where he was, just vanished, not a sign was there. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact somewhere in the back of his neck. Quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend St. McClary securely bound and gagged in his study in Broad Street. Underline, this is very important part of this story. St. McClary securely bound and gagged in the study in the Broad Street. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m. How it's possible that he had been there 8:15 a.m.? That means this is McClary, and the person who was there, the person who had gone for the invigilation was not McClary. It was the third party, the friend of Evans, when the two men had called. And inquiries in Newsbury throughout the afternoon. Okay, let's see next part. Produced nothing at all, and by tea time everyone in the prison knew what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McClary. Very important, just underline, it had not been Evans impersonating. Impersonating means following McClary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McClary who had stayed. That means who had stayed in, it was Evans. The person who had come for invigilation was not McClary, a third party, the helping hand to Evans, and McClary is here tightly, securely bound together. It's given here. Okay, it's clear. The fish and chips were delicious, and there at the gentle stall round the center of the Chipping Norton. Evans decided to return to the hotel and have an early night. A smart knew hat that he had concealed the wreckage of his closely cropped hair. So he had having that new hat, and he kept on that. He walked to the reception desk of the Golden Lion. So this is the name of the hotel, Golden Lion. And if you recall that Golden Inn, that the correction slip, that the clues were there. It would take a good while for his hair to regain for the former glories. But what the hell did the matter? He was out again, wasn't he? A bit of bad luck that when Jackson had pinched his scissors, when taken away, pinched means taken away, for it had meant a long and tricky operation with a only razor blade than the previous night. But he had his good luck also too. Just think, if Jackson had made him take his bubble hat off, that really had been a close call. He had that bobble hat, it would have been taken away. The Jackson, definitely it was problematic. Still, old Jackson wasn't such a bad fellow. One of the worst things that funny really had been the beard. He had always been allergic to the sticking plaster, and even now his chins were irritatingly sore and red because that false beard, his skin turned to be allergic, and sticking plaster, even chin was irritatingly sore and red in condition. Okay, so this class up to here, or next we will continue. Okay, next class. Any problem, just note it down and then inform me. Thank you class. Bye for today's class. Have a nice day.